A non-red deck that plays aggro and kills out of the blue? Here's another installment of... Think outside the deck box. Welcome everyone to my Tetsuko Umezawa Fugitive deck tech. You get a 2-mana 1/3 human rogue that is an uncommon from the Dominaria set, and creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less cannot be blocked. So the theme of this deck is to have as many 1x or x1 creatures as possible to be unblockable with each of my creatures and just get as much damage out as I can, as quickly as I can, and get a whole bunch of value out of them. And drawing 5 cards in a turn just by attacking is not hard for this deck to do. So we have a bigger card draw pile, we have a ram pile, a removal pile, a infect pile, a giant growth pile, we'll talk about why in a sec, a protection pile, and a land pile. We're gonna go through all the categories, talk about all the cards. If you have questions, let me know down in the comments and let's get into it. Now this snaky here for 3 mana allows you to draw a card whenever it deals combat damage, but instead of dealing combat damage, you draw a card. Interesting, and our first aggro unblockable creature with our commander that simply draws a card, which is beautiful, and we have multiple of these. So Library Larcenist is another simpler card that just draws a card when we attack. Great. Scroll Thief when it deals combat damage, also unblockable. You see all of them are 1x's. Now we have our first prowess creature, Gestian Thief, I think it's in English, has prowess, and whenever it deals combat damage, we draw a card. Now the idea is to attack first, wait for the blocker declare phase so that all our opponents cannot block, and then play non-creature spells to boost her even further and deal a couple more damage if we wanted to. Tandem Lookout. Now this pairs with another creature, and either creature, if they deal combat damage, you draw a card. If you deal combat damage with both creatures, you draw a card for each of them. Now Tetsuko also makes herself unblockable. Now you could pair her together with the Lookout, and you draw 2 cards if you deal combat damage, and they're unblockable since it's a X1. Ninja of Deep Hours can ninjutsu onto the battlefield if you want to swap them out, and you may draw a card when they boop your opponent. Jeskai Elder, we're playing a couple of looting creatures, so prowess again, similar to the thief before, and when it deals combat damage we may loot, so draw a card and discard a card. Looter, that's where the name is coming from. Ilkor for 2, you get a shadow creature which is unblockable by itself, therefore, because no one plays shadow creatures, and you may loot when they deal combat damage. Moon Circuit Hacker, it has ninjutsu again, and if it is the first time they deal combat damage, we just simply draw a card, otherwise we loot a card. Goggles of the Night, whenever the equipped creature deals combat damage, we scry 1 and draw a card, and equips for 2. The Ophidian Eye, beautiful card with flash. You connect with your opponent and you draw another card and surprise your opponent with drawing another card by playing it for 3 without them seeing it coming. Last Thoughts, Cipher card. So for 4 you draw 1 card, which is quite bad, but you can cipher it onto a creature, and then whenever they connect, you also draw a card. Again, now this you want to attach to a weaker creature, maybe your commander even, so that they are forced to choose which creature they want to remove and not put it onto a creature that already draws. Then it draws you 2 cards, then it becomes too dangerous in my opinion, but you may decide for yourself. Treasure Cruise, 1 mana most of the time, draw 3 cards, Ancestral Recall. In Pauper, there's a Pauper deck by the way, you can build this deck even stronger if you wanted to, so this is just the beginning of the deck and it is quite powerful already. Keep watch, either you have like 5 attackers, for 3 you draw 5 cards, or you're attacked by some token creatures, or you know, in multiplayer, anyone is being attacked by like 10 creatures, hey, why not draw 10 cards for 3? That is powerful, and I think it should be played more in Commander, don't you think? Deep Analysis. Now at first a little weaker, for 4 we draw 2, but later on for 2 we may pay 3 life and draw another 2. That makes it a little stronger. Augur just simply looks at the top 3 cards, and we may put an instant sorcery from them to our hand and put the rest onto the bottom of the deck. This is another one we could put like a curiosity kind of effect on. And then we have the look into the depths, peer into the depths, I think it's in English. We look up the top 5, we can choose a instant or sorcery card and put it into our hand. Next up, ramp. Explore scope, because we have many attackers here which are unblockable. We just simply attack, and every third card roundabout will be a ramp for us, which we are able to put onto the battlefield tapped. Praying Blade, whenever the equipped creature connects, we get a treasure token. Beautiful. Not much to say here. Some more classic ramp like Wayfarer's Bauble, not much to say here. Thought Vessel, because we are drawing a whole bunch of cards, we want to keep them. Great card to do that. Arcane Signet, 2 mana rocks, Fell Warstone again, Mind Stone, can also draw a card if we wanted to, Sky Diamond and Prismatic Lens. Silver Mirror could also attack if we wanted to, if we don't need the mana. Dreamscape Artist is a card I don't think many people know about. This is like a Herald but in blue. So for 3 you can tap it, discard a card, and then you sacrifice a land and tutor up 2 more basic lands and put them onto the battlefield untapped. So you can filter out your deck, but you can also make use of cards that you don't need anymore. Just throw them out, get some 2 more lands, you enter untapped, and if you don't really have anything else to do, do that at the end of an opponent's turn if you don't need to counter anything. Decanter, again, another card that just allows you to have an infinite amount of hand size, and there's also a mana rock. Now, removal. We play a couple of counter spells, not too many, I think like 6, 7, but we want to make sure that the stuff we want to keep around stays around, and the stuff we don't want to see from opponents just doesn't hit the battlefield, since removal is hard. In blue, Prohibit. You may pay kicker 2 to counter either a 4 mana spell or less, or a 2 mana spell or less if you didn't pay the kicker costs. And that's a hard counter, so most cards this hits, right? Negate counters a non-creature spell. Arcane Denial is a all-star in Pauper. You can counter your own spell if you want to draw up to 3 cards, but if you counter an opponent's spell, they draw 2 at the beginning of the next upkeep, and you draw 1 as well. Counterspell counters a spell. Deprive. For 2, you have to return a land back to its owner's hand, and then you counterspell. Daze is a free counterspell, and most of the time opponents will tap out in the last spell. You can counter for free because they probably won't be able to pay 1. Great counterspell in Pauper. Witness Protection. We have a couple of these removals that turn your opponent's creatures and commanders into just simple creatures without effect. So this turns it into a 1/1 legitimate business person. Frogify turns it into a 1/1 frog, and Kazmina's Transmutation turns it into a 1/1 nothing. Okay. Then Ravenform exiles an artifact or creature. Beautiful removal. Has Foretell to be able to be cast cheaper. Only downside, it is a sorcery, which I often forget. Have to learn that the hard way a couple of times. Now, Sigil of Sleep is a card that not many people know about, and I am playing it already in my Pauper Fake Pirates deck. If you want to check out another awesome deck, check it out here after this one. So whenever one of our creatures deal combat damage, keep in mind they're all unblockable, so we are actually able to return any creature to its owner's hand. Now, if that is not strong, do fight me in the comments. Like, this returns commanders, this can be used politically if there's like an enter the battlefield effect that you want to have again, or your opponents want to have again, but also just bounces the most important creature they have back to their hand every single turn. And lastly, the Mistblade Shinobi also returns creatures whenever it hits a player, and it returns it from the player that it hits. Now, the Toxic Infect pile. There are a couple of cards in Pauper that allow you to deal infect damage. Poison counters, if your opponent has 10, they die. And this is a strong deck to put them in. It is aggro, you're able to draw a whole bunch of cards, and then you want to be able to cast infect and toxic creatures to be able to deal to be able to distribute poison counters and kill your opponents that way. So the Do Mover for 2 is a 2/1, it deals normal damage, but it also has Toxic 1 and gives them a poison counter whenever they connect, and it's unblockable, so that's beautiful. Also puts a land on top of your library if you want to from your library, and I used it once actually because I just simply didn't draw any cards, so I guess I shuffled badly that game, and that fixed it kind of. Ichor Claw has Infect as a 1/1, and whenever it's blocked it also gains +2/+2. Simple and effective. Blighted Agent is probably the best creature in this deck that deals Infect damage, is unblockable by itself, so it doesn't even need Tetsuko at all, and is a 1/1, so just for 2 mana Infect. We have the Phyrexian Digester for 3 mana, a 2/1, and has also Infect, so it's also unblockable. And then we have the Corpse Cur, which is, I think, our only creature that is actually blockable because it's a 2/2, but it's important. It has Infect, and when it enters the battlefield, we may return a creature with Infect back to our hand from our graveyard. So if anyone removes any of our Infectors here, we are able to return those. Since there are not that many in Pauper, but enough to be able to play this deck, Muddle the Mixture to be able to actually fetch for the Infect creatures. We can fetch for all of these here, and more cards, all the cards that you saw before that have the mana cost of 2. Can also be a removal, so if we're desperate and we really need to counter an instant sorcery, we can also use it for that. Now we're playing a couple of Toxic and Proliferate card. Aspirant's Ascent boosts a creature, so it might deal even more Infect damage, gives Flying and also Toxic 1, or we give it to any other creature, this one or whatever, and it also deals 1 Toxic and therefore poison counter damage to our opponent. Prolong Phrases gives a poison counter to each of our opponents, strong, and we draw a card. Simple and effective. Contentious Plan for 2, Proliferate, draw a card. It's at sorcery speed, there is 1 Steady Progress. There it is, Steady Progress, that also is at instant speed, costs 1 more, makes it a little worse, but yeah, Proliferate, you know. Experimental Augury for 2, we can look at 3 cards, pick 1 of them, put the rest on the bottom, and Proliferate. This one we could have also put into the removal pile, Fuel for the Cause, for 4, counters a spell but also proliferates, does 2 things that our deck wants to do. Vivisurgence Insight, I put this in here recently, I haven't tested it yet. For 5 mana we draw 3 cards, proliferate. Maybe it's a little too expensive for what it does, I'll have to see and test it out. Thrumming Bird and Guild Pact Informant both have the effect when they deal combat damage to a player, we may proliferate. This also triggers when it deals combat damage to a planeswalker, so that's kind of nice. Costs 1 more though, so that one is actually kind of better in my opinion. Both of them flying already, unblockable with Tetsuko, so not much to say here. And Flood of Recollection is actually like a Joker card, so this replaces any of our instant or sorcery cards that fell into our graveyard throughout the game. And maybe we need a single Proliferate card to just end the game, or a counterspell, or you name it. There are a couple more in the interesting giant growth pile that we're going to look at in a sec that you might want to return. So this can be anything, so that's why I find it quite beautiful and strong to be included in most blue decks. Like, you're playing instant sorceries in blue, right? Even in this mono blue aggro deck, you're playing instant sorceries. So, the giant growth pile. Now, there are cards here. Let's look at the first one before I talk. For 1 mana, Behind the Mask, it's an instant. As an additional cost, we can also collect Evidence 6, so exile mana cost 6 from our graveyard in total. And either it's a booster, so 1 creature becomes a 4/3 creature until end of turn, or it kind of functions as a removal and turns a creature into a 1/1 if we collected evidence. Most of the time we will use it to turn a creature into a 4/3 rather than turning one into a 1/1. Now why would we want to do that? The Infect creatures become bigger and deal more Infect damage, and that is out of the blue quite strong. You attack and your opponent is like at, let's say, 6 poison counters, and they're like, yeah, I guess I'll go up to 7. Then you go Behind the Mask and kill them. That's quite devastating. There are multiple in here that do that. And they will fall for it once, and then they really have to think about being able to remove your Infect creatures. it's not only that they're all unblockable, but also very, very dangerous. And let's see the next one. Relic's Roar for 1 again. We turn a creature into a dinosaur artifact for 3 creature until end of turn. Again, 4 Infect instead of mostly 1. Startling Development for 2, we turn a creature into a 4/4 Serpent. If we don't need it right now, we can just cycle it and draw another card. Serpentine Ambush for 2, we turn a creature even into a 5/5. Now they even have to watch out if they're at 5 poison counters, because we can do that. Then we have the Selfirin Scapecraft for 2. We turn a creature into a 4/3 again and also draw a card, so it's replacing itself. Really nice. Bone Splitter just straight up boosts our creature by 2. More Infect damage is always better. And lastly, the Crashing Drawbridge, which isn't really boosting anything, but actually can give our board haste. Now, if our opponent, maybe let's say is at 8 and we have 1 Infector out, and they think they're safe by us hitting them with 1, we cast another Infector and use the Drawbridge to give everything haste, and they die to Infect damage. This is a card that I think more decks should play, since being able to just haste attack every turn can be quite powerful. And you know what's also quite powerful? Helping this channel out, reaching the 1,000 subscriber mark. We only need 26 of you before we reach that and are able to do our 1K milestone party. So help this channel out. We've got a couple of promotions here coming to the channel, and we'll have a really fun live stream together. So yeah, if you stuck around till now, maybe you want to do that. Now, lastly, before we end the video, we have the protection pile. And Shell Skulkin was a card that I actually didn't see before or know that it existed. So for 4, we get a 3/2 that is able to pay 3 at any time to give a blue creature Shroud. Now, this kind of is like a Spellskite now, isn't it? Kind of. Because at any time you can pay 3 mana that you would have left open to counter a spell to be able to actually protect a creature that you want to protect. Maybe your Tetsuko is being targeted and you really want to keep him around. A Thrumming Bird is countered. A Thrumming Bird is being removed, or your Blighted Agent, which is the strongest Infect card in this deck. And for just 3, you keep it around. Most of the time, if you have him out, obviously they're not going to try to target your stuff. But if they do, you pay 3 and protect it. Nurok Stealth Suit. This is interesting, and so far it also gives Shroud, that it is able to be activated as an instant speed attachment. So for 2, you can just attach it from one creature to another just to be able to protect it. And that also can be quite strong, and many people also forget that this Stealth Suit can actually do this. And lastly, the Mysium Skin, before we look at the lands, and I hope you enjoyed this video, is a powerful card that can actually protect your whole board from targeted removal if they're playing this, but most of the time you just simply want to pay 1 to just protect 1 creature and you're fine. Now let's look at the mana base, because there are a couple interesting lands in here, like the Haunted Fengraf that you probably saw throughout the video, which can return any creature at random from your graveyard. And obviously we want to use it to return an Infector from our grave if there is one that we still need again, and being able to, for example, filter out the creatures that we don't need anymore with a Treasure Cruise with Delve is a smart thing to do before activating a Haunted Fengraf, now is it? We have Mystic Sanctuary, which can put a instant sorcery card on top of our library if we have 3 or more islands, and we're playing a whole bunch, so this one will activate most of the time. And then we have the Halimar Depths, which is like a kind of scry. You look at the top 3 cards and you put them back in any order. You're not able to put them down onto the bottom of your library, but you can plan out your next couple of turns. Path of Ancestry, we're playing, I think I counted once, like 14-ish humans or rogues, which is the creature type of our commander. So we can scry a couple of times throughout the game. Then we're playing a couple of cycling lands. We have this isle here and another isle. I'm not sure. These 2 here, this one cycles for 2, this one for a simple blue, and the Desert of the Mindful cycles for 1 and a blue. And since we're drawing many cards, these are just joker cards that draw another one. And then we're playing like, I don't know, 20 islands or so. There is a whole deck list in the description of this deck if we want to look again and look at different cards. want to ask me questions about it, let me know. One thing before we end the video, I wondered how many I should put in of these giant growth effects. If you want to help me build this deck and make it even stronger, we're playing currently like 5 of these, and I was wondering how many we want to have in here. So there are 5 more cards that actually do like a, let's say, giant growth effect. So for 2, you can turn another creature into a 4/4. This one also turns a creature into a 4/4. This one also turns a creature into a 4/4, costs 3 though, but replaces itself by drawing a card. Suit Up again turns a creature into a 4/5, draws a card for 3, and another 3 mana spell that turns up to 2 creatures into 3/3s. So if you have 2 Infectors, it's even more powerful than the others and replaces itself by drawing a card. And yeah, I would like to hear from you which of these you would include and how many. If you think like 7 would be a better match, or which ones you would swap out. I chose the cheapest one in regards to mana, so there are no 3 mana spells here. Those 3 cost 3 and those would another 2. And I want to hear from you in the comments below in regards to the giant growth effects, but also if I forgot any cards to put into this deck and deck in general, click those 2 buttons to support the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Surround yourself with good people, have a beautiful day, and bye bye.